Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on a Sunday night. Obviously, the situation for the Tennessee Titans is that the season is over. And with Austin and Zach's post-game coverage, we figured that there would be enough discussion for you guys to vent everything that you had to vent last night and for us to come in and, basically do a little bit of an autopsy on these guys after a unbelievably hellish 2022 season. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to break this thing down step by step. Obviously, I was in Jacksonville last night for the game, flew back this morning, and we'll be able to share with you some stuff, some conversations that I was able to have. In fact, Reed, now that I think about it, if you wouldn't mind putting the Jeff Simmons clip in that I did not think about before of him talking about his physical situation, I just now realized that I did not ask you for that clip. But there's obviously a lot of emotions that are attached with this thing and a lot of different things that people are working through. So we're going to talk through that tonight because they got a ton of questions that they need to answer at this stage. And for them moving forward, it's not like this season has provided much resolution for any of the things that they'll need to work through over the next 6 months. So we'll do that. We'll do this as a free site, as is our Sunday custom, the best thing that I saw on the internet this week, and we will work through all the emotions. This is basically like a therapy session for you guys for about a half hour on the internet. So we'll see if we can't flush some of this stuff out over the course of tonight's show. Before we get started, though, I need you guys to share this show on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. If you're hanging out on Twitter, please retweet the show in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you are on Facebook Live like Brent Woods or Steve Redfern, you can share out of public in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. If you are on YouTube like Stephen King or Twitch, we would like for you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I'm assuming that you have because you obviously got the notification that we're on live. Like the video, and once you've done that, make sure you tell a friend that you can get the best live streamed A to Z Sports Nashville coverage right here on the A to Z Sports Digital Network, and we would be grateful for you that way. So as we get rolling, more of you guys will trickle in, and we'll go ahead and start this discussion off because there's a lot of different pieces of this to work through, and I know that you guys have a lot to say. Trust and know that I do as well. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Superbook Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising, and I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by our friends at Two Rivers Ford. Two Rivers Ford is where you go for 2023 model year Fords, available right now at the dealership in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. The Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage, GaryAshton.com, is where you go. Your dream address without the stress is what they offer you in that intel edge you need to succeed. So trust the team that your favorite teams trust. Go to GaryAshton.com. Superbook Sports, where you go to wager on all the NFL action that remains. Playoff still ahead. The Tennessee Titans not partaking, but you can bet on NFL, NBA, NHL, and everything in between when you download the Superbook Sports app. TrueMav Fitness, your place to accomplish your New Year's resolutions. Their boot camp style classes will get you right ahead of the new year as we enter the new year and are well underway, about 8 days in. TrueMavFitness.com for your first workout free. So, obviously the circumstances for the Titans have not dramatically changed in the last 7 weeks of play, right? Here we sit again on a Sunday evening. Obviously the game played last night, but here we sit again on a Sunday evening talking about another loss. That's 7 in a row for this particular franchise. It's the second longest losing streak in the Titans era of football, going back to 1998 when they officially became the Tennessee Titans. It is an embarrassment that they would have something like this on their resume. It is an embarrassment to the players, to the coaching staff, and to the organization. For as bad as you feel about the way that your football team lost, I assure you that they feel worse. Now, how everybody feels about this circumstance is largely irrelevant because the facts are the facts. The Titans aren't in the playoffs. For the second time in 5 years, only the second time in 5 years of Mike Vrabel as the head coach, this team isn't going to the postseason. They have not won a game since their offensive coordinator got a DUI. They have not won a game since November 17th in Green Bay. They have not won a game since they fired the general manager, John Robinson, for issues that obviously we've seen bubble up to the surface throughout the course of this season. Here's what I will say to you, though, because I think there needs to be discernment between the way that they failed, because they have failed spectacularly, and the way that they went about doing it, the way that they handled themselves in these moments. There is no question that this particular football team, this coaching staff, regardless of what you think of the coaching staff and specific names on the coaching staff, of which I'm sure we'll spend a lot of time talking about this offseason, there's no question that those dudes went out there and fought their asses off week in and week out. The reality of the situation is they simply are not good enough to be able to compete in the NFL. They had moments at 7-3. They had moments even in the middle of this 7-game losing streak. I think we all looked around in the press box, where obviously I was watching it, where whether you're at home on your couch, whether you made the trip to Jacksonville, as many of you did. I saw a lot of you guys and gals in TIAA Bank Stadium last night. Everybody had the same viewing experience, which is this team was in control. This team looked like it was going to have a shot to go to the postseason. And this team, much in the way that they have done in the previous 6 weeks, they basically reinvented new ways to lose. The Josh Dobbs strip sack, fumble, or scoop and score touchdown that gave the Jags their first damn lead of the game. 2:51 left in the game. You were 2 minutes and 51 seconds from winning your third straight divisional championship with the third quarterback that you have used this season, and 22 dudes on the active roster who have previously been on practice squads, scrubs, the literal replacements. You were 2 minutes and 51 seconds from winning that football game. And then shit went crazy, right? The way that we have seen time and time again, the Tennessee Titans in this 7-game losing streak really struggle and not be able to correct a lot of the ills that we consistently come in here and talk about. So instead of having the same conversation that we've had for the last 7 weeks, which is penalties, turnovers, insufficient talent, all these things that we know contributed to the reason why this team lost, we're going to do an autopsy instead on this season, because there are a million different things. In fact, it's going to take longer than just tonight's show to kind of work through. There's a million different things that this team needs to correct. This franchise needs to correct. And there are a lot of different moving pieces that were involved last night that may not be involved for much longer. So let's get started with your Two Rivers Ford take on A to Z Sports Primetime. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch is where you interact with us. In the comment section, I want your Two Rivers Ford take. As I mentioned, what one word best describes the Titans' 2022 season? Let me know. We will discuss at length together. As always, your Two Rivers Ford take is made possible by our friends at Two Rivers Ford. Two Rivers Ford is where you go for the best car buying experience around. I'm a Two Rivers Ford customer. I got my 2022 Ford Explorer courtesy of their Built For You program. But if you are not necessarily looking to custom order your next Ford, Two Rivers Ford has so many different ways for you to shop. You can custom order your vehicle the way that I did at tworiversford.com. Any model, any customizable accessories, any color that you select, build it online and have it delivered straight to your door. You can call them at 1-800-900-1000 and speak to one of their non-commissioned salespeople, or you can go to the dealership where they have in-stock inventory 2023 model year Fords available right now. Nobody does it better than Two Rivers Ford. It's why it's the brand name you know and the brand name you know you can trust. Now in year number 40, Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. So, what one word describes this 2022 Titans regular season? Cadillac says whirlwind, MB, backups, Reynolds, debilitating, injuries. Again, I add parenthetically, says Corey D. Jackson. Stressful, Michael Lombardo adds. Here's the thing, because I've obviously had a lot of time to think about it. I've had more time, since their season ended than I normally do to kind of process all the different things that I saw on this field. And the word that I'm going to use, you may disagree, but the word that I'm going to use is merciful. Merciful that this season came to an end the way that it did. There's no question that prior to the game, I was frustrated, and I think many of you were frustrated about the idea that there was a contingent of the fan base that was more interested in losing this game for a better draft pick, this game against the Jags in Week 18, losing this game, missing the playoffs, and trying to secure a better position in the NFL draft than they were in competing for an opportunity to play in the postseason. That bothered me in ways that, you guys know me. We've worked together. We've been with each other for a long time at this point. I have zero rooting interest other than what is most successful for the health of the primetime show, for the health of the radio show, for the podcasts, all these different things. That I don't normally get emotional about things regarding the success or failure of the football team. But what I experienced basically in the week leading up, and then obviously throughout the course of the day yesterday before they played at 7:15 Central Time, was an utterly perplexing amount of people who were just checked out on the regular season. Now, that's not unreasonable. This is a franchise that has lost 7 straight games. It's the second longest losing streak in the history of the Tennessee Titans. That is not insignificant by any stretch of the imagination. So for people to be checked out looking for the offseason, I get that, especially when the analysis is, well, the roster's not good enough. The roster's not good enough. The roster's not good enough. And then people come in, well, then tank for a better draft pick. And then you hit them over the head with, well, why don't you care? Why do you care about draft picks right now? Because you're still in the middle of the regular season. So there's a bit of a devil's advocate argument to be had there, as there will be with many things. Todd Downing, cough, cough. But I think that when you look at the circumstances for this particular team, even as I think the vast majority of you were more interested in going into Jacksonville, beating down the Jags, beating Trevor Lawrence, securing your 3rd straight divisional title, and advancing in some form or fashion to the wild card round and hosting a home playoff game. I think the results ultimately ended up being the best thing possible for what it is that this team needs. Merciful is the word that I would use. And I'm going to explain more why that is the word right after I let you hear from Mike Vrabel, who, among so many other, actually, let's start with Big Jeff, because Big Jeff breaking down in tears, it's a 305-pound, 6'4", nasty mother bleeping defensive tackle. And we're talking to him at his locker room after he's just tried to, along with many other players on this roster, tried to do everything they humanly can to go out there and win a football game. And still, for the 7th straight time, unable to do so. To see Big Jeff break down in tears, that's kind of where the mercy element of it starts for me. You're going to hear from Jeff Simmons right after I remind you that A to Z Sports Primetime is made possible by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. GaryAshton.com is where you go for your dream address without the stress. You may be let down by your favorite sports teams, but you know that the Intel Edge will not ever let you down when you go to GaryAshton.com. It's why they're the official real estate agent of the Nashville Predators and of me. Gary Ashton and the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage don't sell without the intel that you get at GaryAshton.com. So, Jeff Simmons, we were in the locker room with him last night, speaking to many different players after having talked to Titans head coach Mike Vrabel. But the thing that kind of shook me up the most raw, I think, experience, whatever you want to call it, that we had with any of these guys came from Big Jeff, who's obviously in a contract situation, not a contract year, but a contract situation, who is obviously playing through things that have bogged him down since week 8. What he said to us right as I started recording on this clip is, I've been shooting up my ankle, and I add parenthetically, with God knows what, since week 8 of the regular season. 10 weeks later, Jeff's still out there trying to give it his all.
Hey, man. These guys in the locker room, man, I love them. No matter what, I want them to be on that field. I don't know what, I figured out this whole season what I could do, get better, but like I said, these guys meant so much to me, man. I just wanted to be on the field, hurting. I didn't care, so I'm a fighter, man. I'm a warrior. I'm gonna give it all to my guys because that's how much I love the game in this locker room, man. So I appreciate these boys so much, man. We'll find a way next year to be better as a team, and we're gonna figure it out. Thanks.
So that's Jeff Simmons speaking with us in the locker room, and we had a variety of different interactions like that last night with the players, with Mike, talking to some of the coaching staff, the equipment people. You know, we are around, and I say we Titans media, right? Those of us who are, I'm not at every practice anymore the way that I used to be, but I'm at every game, and obviously have personal relationships with these guys, as we all do, who do what it is that we get the opportunity to do. And, you know, there was a few of us that just after Jeff gave that answer, and we left him alone after that, because obviously, you're trying to handle a delicate situation in ways that are very, very visceral and emotional with these dudes who, you know, go through all kinds of hell to make sure that they can provide us with entertainment. And there's a multi-billion-dollar industry built around them on their bodies, first and foremost. Now, nobody's going to sit here and actively jockey or have a successful argument on behalf of the multi-million-dollar athletes, right? Many of you have jobs that are unpleasant. Many of you have multiple jobs. Given the current economic situation, many of you are not going to be sympathetic to the dude who's out there playing on a bum ankle because of what his paycheck may or may not look like compared to yours. But I do think, given how difficult this season has been, and how much you guys understand, because you are very attuned to what it is goes on a week in, week out basis with your football team. Social media allows you the opportunity to do that. You've never had more access than you do right now because the team produces stuff and all these different things. But I think that when it comes down to it, Jeff and so many others, what they have done all season long is compounded with a degree of futility that you're not accustomed to seeing from the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans historically win games they have no business winning in. Now, sometimes they let you down in big moments. Sometimes they fall to inferior opponents. But this season, they have not been able to get off the schneid. And I want you to hear a clip from Mike Vrabel, who spoke on this in particular, because tomorrow, when we meet with Mike, when we go to locker room cleanout day, because, the season was over yesterday. Now, the process, on the plane ride home from Jacksonville last night, the process began of needing to answer all the different questions that this team has. The way that Mike put it is a level of, I don't want to call it defeatism, because I don't think that Mike Vrabel ever truly showed the signs of defeat, even as, the energy at the press conferences obviously got less. He's repeating a lot of the same things because a lot of the same things are killing them and they haven't been able to rectify it. We've talked about penalties. We've talked about the inability to protect the quarterback. We've talked about, last night they struggled to get pressure for most of the first half in ways that allowed the Jags to keep it close until they ultimately took the lead. I think that a lot of you guys understand how much of this they have had to fight through. And sympathy for a team that has failed is not easy to come by. But I do think that this fan base and this particular year's team have a unique relationship in one another where you know how hurt they are. It's been 2 years of this at this point. And you've seen the exhaustion. You've seen the physical ailment, literal blood, sweat, and tears on the field. The tears not coming about until the breaking point, which was last night. And so sympathy is not something that they're interested in as prideful professional athletes, as competitors, as the closest thing to modern day gladiators that we have. But I do think that the vast majority of you, and I won't speak for all of you, hell, I won't pretend to speak for any of you in this moment, but I do think that there is a degree of this that people look at and say, they did all that they humanly could at this time. And the reality of the situation is they're just not good enough anymore. How they answer those questions remains to be seen. But here's Mike Vrabel talking about the circumstances for this particular football team last night. You're going to hear from the head coach right after I remind you that Superbook Sports is where you go to get in on all the action. Download the Superbook Sports app today. NFL playoffs still ongoing. You can get the best odds boost and promo bets at superbooksports.com. Download the app today and they'll match your first bet up to $1,000, win or lose, whether it's football that you're interested in, NBA in full swing, college basketball, exciting. The Tennessee Vols in the SEC, by the way, absolutely clubbing South Carolina yesterday, and so much more. You can wager on every major sport in the Superbook Sports app. So download the app today. Go to superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. So, Mike Vrabel, when we asked it, MB says it correctly. They gave it their all. They're just not good enough. That's why the word that I use tonight, the one word, when I ask you guys to describe the Titan season in one word, the one word that I use is merciful. Because I just don't think that they could have physically, mentally, emotionally given you or themselves any more of an opportunity than they tried to do throughout the course of this 2022 season.
It's difficult to lose any time in this league. Felt like we were going to win the game. Felt like we were going to win the game Monday and Tuesday, all the way up through the week. I felt really good about where we were at. Obviously, we played with great effort. Kept answering. When the offense needed to answer, they did, and when the defense needed to, they did. And they just made a play there at the end.
You preach, winning the turnover battle. How tough was it to have those 2 turnovers, 10 points, so late in the game?
Cost you the game. In this league, you can't turn it over and give up defensive scores. So, but we're all in this thing together, and that's the most important thing that we have to recognize.
So that's Mike Vrabel talking about the circumstances for this particular team last night. Jeff Roberts says, I wish Amy Adams Strunk, Titans controlling owner Amy Adams Strunk, would fire Vrabel. I've never liked him as a coach. He just hires and sticks with his buddies as coaches and only goes after players he's got a connection with. Look where we are now. Well, Jeff, respectfully, that's one of the dumbest comments I think I've seen in the history. We have been the Primetime Show, Reed, going on what now? We're coming up on 4 years, I believe so. And by the way, largely due to the success or the support rather that you guys have been able to provide. So, Jeff, when I say that that's one of the dumbest opinions that I've seen in the history of this show, that's not a personal attack. I just think that I think that lacks a lot of context and a lot of perspective. The job Mike Vrabel has done, and he's not perfect. I think a lot of the play calling issues that you guys have on offense, more of that criticism should be directed towards Mike Vrabel, who is intimately involved on every single play. I think Mike deserves far more criticism than he has gotten, while also, having that kind of energy towards Todd Downing. Fireable offense, that's Mike's decision to make. But you are damn lucky to have Mike Vrabel. Damn lucky. And I know that sounds asinine after 7 straight losses and a blown 4-game lead in the division, the opportunity for a 3rd straight divisional title for the first time in the franchise's history and all those different things. But to have a statement like that, to actually think that, and, there are look around the NFL. You don't think so? You guys are in love with Arthur Smith, or there's a good percentage of you that are in love with Arthur Smith, right? Have you looked at the Atlanta Falcons roster as far as bringing in players with familiarity to the coaching staff, coaches with familiarity to the head coach? That's the NFL. Coaches go out and get players that they're most comfortable with, that they know they can trust. Coaches go out and hire other coaches who they know, who they respect, who they think can operate on the same level. They're not hiring guys with the intention of hiring inferior players or coaches or staffers or general managers. That's not how this business works. This is a familiarity business. This is a trust business. And a lot of that comes from known commodities. So to fault Mike Vrabel for doing something that literally every other coach in the NFL does, nonsense. John Robinson, the Patriots Southeast, right? When John first got hired and the amount of players that they paid to come here, New England castoffs, who ended up being very, very valuable contributors to this franchise during the course of their time here. To say that, and I can't speak to your personal opinion, Jeff, about never having liked him as a coach. Did you enjoy the Mike Mularkey experience more? Can I interest you in a Ken Wisenhunt? I know that Munchak is somebody who's very respected here, but Mike Vrabel is probably the most competent head coach that the Tennessee Titans have had in their history, including Jeff Fisher, who was here for an eternity. There is no question that dude is a plus to you on the sidelines in critical situations. And that's all you're really asking an NFL head coach to do, to be a CEO of a program, to be able to give you strategic advantages when the time comes for it. You beat Tom Brady in his final game as a New England Patriot because Mike out-Belichicked Belichick. I get this year sucked for you guys. I get that it sucked for them. And, there are moments where I didn't really like watching them, but that's low on the list of concerns for everybody. My personal opinion of the aesthetics of watching the Tennessee Titans football team, they don't matter for this conversation, but I'm cognizant of who it is that they are and what it is that they try to be and who it is that they employ. And to say that Amy Adams Strunk would fire Mike Vrabel, Vrabel would have a job before he knew that he got fired. Any NFL franchise that's currently looking for a head coach would snap Mike Vrabel up, the defending, coach of the year, in a heartbeat. Now, you can be critical of his stubbornness. There is obvious stubbornness to them. Why wouldn't he be? He's been largely successful up until this point. And I imagine a 7-game losing streak is enough to humble anybody in that particular position. There's not a lot of NFL teams that have that, or coaches that have that on their resume. And yet, to ignore, look where you are now. Look, what do you mean, look where you are now? You've just come off one of the most successful runs that any NFL franchise has had in the last 5 seasons. That by win percentage, by playoff success, by all these different things. You didn't win a Super Bowl. That matters. That matters a great deal. There's plenty of other teams that don't win a Super Bowl. You know how many teams, Tom Brady, good teams, better teams, talented teams that Tom Brady has kept from winning a Super Bowl in the AFC? You know how many more Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes will do because they're just other supernatural talents at the quarterback position, and there's only 3 or 4 of those dudes at any one time in the league? You have a staff that has put you, at least you have a head coach. We'll talk later about Todd Downing. But you have a head coach who puts you in as best a possible position as he can, week in and week out. And to ignore that only goes after players he's got a connection with, to cite things that could be said of any NFL head coach at this stage. Honestly, Jeff, and I know we're spending a lot of time on this particular comment. I know that's not the belief of a lot of you, but there is there's a contingent that wanted them to tank. There's a contingent that wants Mike Vrabel fired. 7 straight losses is not a defensible thing. He should be embarrassed. He should be held accountable, not in terms of losing his job, because he still gives them the best possible position to succeed. And to ignore that, I think one takes for granted the amount of success that you've had relative to the rest of the league. I think it takes for granted all the different things that they've had to overcome. And we're going to have conversations about training staff and whether they're putting players in a good enough position as far as recovery and strength and conditioning and all those things. Those are questions that are fair to be asked. But look where you are now. You've just come off one of the most successful runs that any NFL team has had by any metric. You did not win the ultimate goal, but there's only one team that does at the end of the year. And just because you played the percentages and lost doesn't mean that you aren't in an infinitely better position than you were when this franchise hired specifically Mike Vrabel. John Robinson, a big part of that as well. Things can change. But for right now, asinine, utterly idiotic to think that Mike Vrabel isn't the best person to continue to manage this thing moving forward from a head coaching position. Now, I'm not saying that he needs control of personnel. I don't think so at all. But I really do think that it's one of the oldest cliches in the book. The grass is not always greener, kids. And I think that at this juncture, all those things have to be taken in consideration. MB says, Buck, what has Jeff's response been? I'm sure he's just sitting there listening. I'm sure he isn't just sitting there. Well, I don't care at this point. I was on a roll. I'm not going to. Oh, you want me to stop? I thought I was hitting my stride there. I was in rhythm, baby. I'm hitting completions. What are you talking about, MB? You're looking for critical commentary? Jeff says, just okay. Reed went and found it. Good job out of Reed. Just my opinion. I didn't want him the day he was hired. Everyone can have their own opinion. Okay, that's all well and good. My opinion just happened to be a little longer than yours. MB acting like I'm out here looking for call and response. That's right. I love you guys. You're the best. Alex M says Buck is a menace. Parker says Buck buried poor Jeff for 10 minutes. Yeah, man. Sorry. I was cruising. I thought I was making some good points. I mean, I was making some good points. I'm not walking any of that back, but you're right. It was a little rambling. My bad. Love you guys. All right. Let's wrap this thing up with this is a free site, the best thing that I saw on the internet this week. The question that I'm going to pose to you guys is this on Facebook, YouTube, on Twitter, and actually, I want you to hear from Josh Dobbs first, because I don't think anybody exemplifies what it is that this team has done in the last two seasons with bringing in what Mike Vrabel calls stray cats, right? Straight free agents, dudes off the street, dudes off practice squad, so many of them, and going out there and trying to win competitive football games, doing it more often than not over the course of the last 5 years, and in particular the last two. But I thought Josh Dobbs had really, really good perspective on it last night. So before we do a free site, let's hear from the Titans starting quarterback from yesterday evening.
To figure out how to deal with it, honestly. When you put a lot into this game, especially, given my situation, given the team situation, and guys battling back from injury, all for this game, right? It's really the season's on the line, AFC South champs, and an opportunity to go to the playoffs. And that's, when you wake up, when you grow up playing ball, man, like these are the opportunities that you love and that you yearn for. So yeah, it's definitely tough. It's definitely tough. It'd be a tough flight home, but we'll be able to rally and keep pushing forward.
How do you learn?
So that's Josh Dobbs. By the way, he was asked, and I can't remember who asked the question. Forgive me. Terry McCormick, I believe, of Main Street Media is where Terry is the outlet that Terry works for. Asked him if he would like to be back, and obviously he said, don't make those decisions, but he would like the opportunity to come back and to continue to compete for a position here, backup or otherwise. So as we look forward, obviously the Titans are out, and listen. We are going to have 6 more months to talk about offensive coordinators and personnel decisions and new GMs and on and on and on it goes. So we're not going to do everything tonight, understandably so. But I do think that as we move forward, I'd be curious to know your guys' rooting interest in the postseason the rest of the way through, because I'm certain you're not rooting for the Jags, as so many Titans fans are licking their wounds today after the fact. But who are you rooting for moving forward in the postseason? This is a free site. Best thing that I saw on the internet this week, you're going to hear from one head coach in particular right after I remind you that A to Z Sports Prime Time is presented by TrueMav Fitness. TrueMav Fitness is your one-stop shop to accomplish your fitness goals. They are the best place for you to get that started, for you to feel more confident, for you to feel physically better, mentally better. There are so many benefits to what it is that TrueMav Fitness offers to you. A new way to work out for the new you in 2023. They offer you boot camp style classes. No workout is ever recycled or repeated. They also, if you are not a group class kind of person, as I was not initially, now I really enjoy them, they have personal training. They also have an open gym. Any level of membership available for you to check out at TrueMathFitness.com, where you can also go for your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. So who are you rooting for the rest of the way through at this stage? I think some of you may still be salty and bitter, and I don't fault you for that at all. It's a tough situation that a lot of Titans fans have just been through, and I totally get it. If they're like, just bleep everybody. No, bleep the Super Bowl at this point. Zachary Foster says the Seahawks. Bills Niners, says Steve Redfern. That's the matchup that he wants to see. 789, understandably, with that logo, says Duval, which, by the way, is ringing in my ears probably for the next week for as many people who were screaming that as we were leaving the stadium and walking around for press conferences and all these different things last night. The Jags. It was always the Jags, says CJ Jenkins. Well, hey, by the way, good for the Jags, man. Like, I know y'all don't care, and I'm probably going to piss a lot of people off when I say that, but good for the damn Jags. They started 2-6. They beat the shit out of some good teams this season. They found ways, and Trevor Lawrence was not that good last night, but they found ways to will themselves to win. They had a perfect defensive call to set up that scoop and score fumble recovery touchdown that gave them their first lead of the game after you were 2 minutes and 51 seconds from being able to hold them down. Good for the Jags. I look forward to seeing if they can make a run out of this thing, because they are obviously a curiosity, and they're not going anywhere anytime soon. For those of you who root for other teams in the AFC South, particularly the local professional football team. Ben Hall says he won't watch the NFL playoffs, which is objectively hilarious. Leo says D's versus nuts. Yeah, I get that too. Eagles, says Lewis Duffield. And that is what that is my assessment. I would like to see the Philadelphia Eagles win the Super Bowl. They're such a cool story. I think they've done everything humanly possible to accomplish that. I think they deserve all the credit for what they've been able to do. And with a win today, they have continued to hang on to the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. I'd like to see the Eagles pull it off this year.
Sure. I mean, I get to give him one of those hats. You like that hat?
Yes.
Yeah. You get to give him one of those hats. Get to give my dad a hat. You get to give my other kids, my wife, one of those hats. That's cool, right?
Miles not going to get a hat?
Miles doesn't get one? Why can't Miles have one?
You said Miles can't get one.
I said they all get one.
Oh.
All right. You shush. All right, let me talk. All right. But, obviously,
it's going to take one game at a time, one play at a time, and one day at a time. And, I think that this team is excited for the challenge. And, this week we're going to work, and then we're going to, get the weekend off, and then we're going to get ready for what's to come.
So we will see what happens with the NFL playoffs and the Eagles obviously hitting their stride once again with Jalen Hurts back in the lineup. The Buffalo Bills obviously having an exciting result today. I think the Bills versus the Eagles would be the dream, aesthetically pleasing Super Bowl matchup. But obviously several more weeks to go before we reach that point. Hey, before we wrap up tonight, and obviously, we're not going anywhere. Primetime, 5 days a week still. I'll have some vacation time coming up, but not anytime soon because there's still a lot more to discuss. Radio show 10 to 1 tomorrow on 104.5 The Zone. We're going to go through it together with you. Stephen King says, Buck ain't tired tonight. Hell no, I'm not tired. Here's why I'm not. You guys do so much to give me that kind of energy throughout the course of the year. And I just want to say, we're at the end of another season for the local professional football team. Obviously, football's still going on, but I cannot express to you the way that I appreciate the way that y'all show up here each and every Sunday through Thursday night, the way that you interact on social media, the way that I so enjoy seeing you guys out. I saw a lot of y'all in the Jag Stadium last night, and I never take it for granted the way that you guys show up and show out. So thank you again for another incredible season. I hope that we've been able to meet your standards as far as the coverage that you've come to expect. And I know I don't speak for the entire A to Z Sports team, obviously, but I would say that I know they are grateful, but just for my part of things, thank you guys, because we wouldn't do it if you didn't make it fun, and we wouldn't do it if you didn't support it the way that you do. And I always have one of those moments at the end of the season where I'm like, damn, this is the coolest thing in the world, and the way that you guys support it is always special for me. Anyway, have a great rest of your evening. Enjoy what remains of your weekend. Off-season conversations, we're going to have them all off-season long. And somebody was asking me for off-season predictions. One, I don't do predictions. You can kick rocks on that. But we'll have a lot of time to do off-season analysis. There is no question whatsoever. And we will enjoy that time together with you. We'll have to figure out a new end of show, but for the last time this football season, at the very least, we will send you into the evening with a sad, sad song.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. It ain't warm when she goes away. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. And she's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away.